The Roth Report. Food news and cannabis reviews.
About 3 hours south of Atlanta, Georgia, a small town called Vidalia. It's getting hot. Really hot. Plantation hot. The humidity skyrockets. And there's clouds in the sky. And it's hot. Everybody who works there turns the colors of saddle brown, mahogany, teak. I've been there. It's the land of bib overalls and work boots, and the sun will beat the skin right off the back of your neck. People work with their hands there, and they work bent over, and yeah, it's digital, and they bring in all the machines and the threshing and so forth, but at the end of the day, you're washing the dirt out from under your fingernails, old school. And they grow an onion. That's it, an onion. The Vidalia sweet onion. And there's nothing else like it in the entire world. I've literally walked off the tour bus and across the interstate or whatever it was, and a farmer or a grower or however we call the technicians of the earth these days, because it's an infinitely growing science, but that's a 50 to 60,000 hour man in that straw cowboy hat. The one who just handed me that Vidalia sweet onion the size of a softball, and he's handling it like it was the queen's jewels. He's handling it like it's a baby girl. And that's how they treat them down there. Like it was kids. Kin, that's what they call them down in Georgia. And you stop rolling your R's. You don't say, sir. You say, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's a classic elegance that goes along with the history down there. And it's a long history. It's almost as long as the line that wraps around the earth 6 times when they go on sale at the end of harvest time for the Vidalia onion. And it goes around the world. In 182 languages, they're going to ask, I'll pay you whatever you want for that, buddy. And they do. Every single one of those onions, every single particle, shred, any vision of that has been bought and paid for before it was even planted. It's got a taste that is a miracle. It's a cross between something like an onion and just enough peach to get it civilized. It's sweet, and you can bite into it like an apple. I did. And the fellow who handed it to me had that wink in his eye like, oh, this fella doesn't know what he's encountering, because it's nothing like it looks. And that's the first time you bite into one, you have a big surprise because the appearances are extremely deceiving, like me. They go along with anything. You want sweet, bittersweet, you want spicy, you want just sugary, or you want to bring tears to somebody's eyes. The Vidalia sweet onion will accommodate you. From Fiji to Vicksburg, from Sweden to Fiji, everybody in between, you hand a chef who knows what he or she is doing a bag of fresh Vidalia onions, and it's like a bottle of Dom Perignon, and you pronounce that correctly. How often do you get both of those in one bag? For me, almost never. Maybe you heard about the Maui sweet onion, and she's every bit as amazing, and she really don't pronounce it like this, sir. Don't ask me to do a Hawaiian accent. I got in trouble last time. Fuck it. Bro, more onion. But today I have Georgia on my mind, and the men and women who are responsible for that spectacular Georgia sweet onion from Vidalia will spend their entire life taking care of, worrying about, carrying on with, complaining about, and loving those kids. And no, that wasn't just a slip. Like a Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they're going to do about 80,000 hours. That's after they graduate, and they're not going to regret a second of it. And once you've had their work, you won't either. Whether you speak fluent lobster, taco, sushi, doesn't matter. Goes with perfectly and speaks every language in the world, even breakfast cereal. Haven't tried it, but I'm guessing.
What about barbecue?
Sorry, my inner child won't shut up. It's breakfast time. The folks just down the road who are making that fine, sweet, corn-mashed Kentucky bourbon take every bit as much pride and all their time in life to do it too. And I understand there's a fella named Tito making vodka. New world out there. Let's be part of it. Yes, sir. Driving my truck the other day, I passed a place that only serves tequila and mezcal. Turns out you can drink just tequila all night long and not repeat the brands. I used to do that in the old days, but I only did it with a fella named Jose. You get that, right? It's food humor. World of Cannabis reflects all of this identically. North California, there are people who will dedicate their entire lives, all 80,000 hours of it. Some towards the medical end, some towards the recreational end, some towards the classic end, some towards the scientific. As we speak, someone's going to try and cure cancer with it, and the next guy's going to make a shoe. We'll probably need both. While I'm walking to the doctor, can I also listen to some music? I understand cannabis is a gateway drug to great tunes. Smoke some pot. I'll sound a lot better to you. Hey, guy walks into a bar. Everybody looks like Starsky and Hutch, and he says, hey, I think I can grow a pretty good grape up in Northern California. Shithead on the other side of the bar puts down his bottle of Lowenbrow and says, yeah, right. What are you going to grow next, a black president? Tom and I are going to do a toast to that occasion with some Mexican vodka. You get my drift, Demente. This is Inc. The Original Interviews. Take one. We're going to meet Roscoe Boulevard via Skype. This is Roscoe Boulevard. Mr. Boulevard.
Yes, sir.
Where are you calling me from? You're not calling, it's Skype.
Yes, sir. It's a matter, sir.
Where are you from, sir?
But I'm going to call you from Ocala, Georgia, sir. Yes, sir.
And what is on your mind here today?
Well, sir, you know, I just retired.
Oh, really? What were you doing before?
Well, sir, I was in this man's Navy. Yes, sir. In saltwater, man. 40 years, 45, include my training, sir. Yes, sir.
And what is it that you have to ask us today?
Well, sir, I was, my granddaughter, she do the internet. She graduated, see, we're very proud of her, yes, sir. And she says, you have something that can help me preserve my legacy, sir.
I believe I can. Are you referring to tattoos?
Yes, I am, sir, I said. Saltwater man. I started off as a furnace man in the old days, just working the shovel, and I worked my way up into the motor man, and then things got even better than that, sir.
And what is it that you have specifically? This sounds fascinating.
Well, sir, I can just unzip.
Sure. Whoa, this is Skype, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, I have, if I did drop my trap, I would show you, sir, that on each of my buttocks, my butt cheeks, I have on each cheek, I have a little red devil. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And it's a little red devil with a midshipman's cap on it. Midshipman's cap, little red devil. And in their hand, they have a shovel, like I started with, a little pile of coal, and they're shoveling the coal.
Outstanding. Where are they shoveling?
Into my asshole.
Okay. I don't know why that just cracks me up. Inc. The Original. Life's full of surprises. Be prepared. IncTheOriginal.com.
Okay, we got to do that one again.
I'm sitting here with Tom, and Tom, do you have a pot history, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, a lot of people have a pot history, but I know for a fact that you are pot-free, right?
Currently, yes.
Oh, yeah, and have been ever since I've known you, which to you seems like forever, but to me seems like about a fiscal year or so.
Right.
No, you can't nod on the radio, Tom. Okay, that's a pothead move. That's something you'd expect me to do. You say, Dave, what do you think? And I go, bro, how much time do you have? That's the stereotypic. That's the archetypic, right? Mm-hmm. Most folks, and I haven't listened to any of the pot gods who are on the grid, okay, intentionally, because I'm probably going to love what they do. As a fellow artist and a contemporary, I might internalize that shit, okay? If I sound a little bit like Como on CNN or Rachel, I love them. I listen to them all the time. And I have the same timing. In fact, I even have the same haircut. Okay? So I have intentionally just approached this, as auteur, all right? But I know from history, just throughout what we see on television and the media and so forth, that most people are going to judge
cannabis by how stoned you get. That's the whole pizzazz, right? That seems to be, or maybe the flavor. And it always comes with the vernacular, the Cheech and Chong, I say it with reverence and respect, the Cheech and Chong kind of vernacular, which is, you're either, are you Tom? That kind of a joke. And I use that occasionally. You follow, or it's, orale, some kind of downtown essay. This is Labrador. And really, people do understand what I just did. That's our whole Cheech and Chong routine. Oh, the Labrador routine. And the Labrador routine, somebody says that to you in Urdu. I see the look, Pakistan. Really? Okay. And yeah, the halo. Let's call it the halo, because when you drink scotch, and this goes all the way back to Sir Lancelot and King Arthur times, they were making their own mead, and it gave you a halo. Scotch, whiskey, has no E in the word. When you have corn mash bourbon from Kentucky, there's I'm sorry, I've been smoking pot. WHISKEY. That's American style bourbon, okay? Sour mash. You get a halo from it. A buzz, okay, that's vernacular. Zzz, yeah, a buzz. For us, it was a seasonal thing in Van Halen. You mean you're celebrating Christmas? No, all winter. I'm not going to kid you. Full transparency. So in some sense, in terms of at least what not to do, don't go there. Don't go there. Well, that's important when you're learning to be a chef. Don't mix that together. I can help you with that. And judging cannabis purely, and I'm speaking to a lot of folks who have already thought this and are going, okay, finally somebody said this. To many of us here who are listening in, who really are just turning in, turning on, joining in, you don't drop out, is, would you judge a glass of wine purely by the halo? Well, if it comes with a screw top and a freight train on the label, you fucking bet. But I see Tom smiling. You know the brand. MD 2020, Mad Dog 2020. Who's going to name a beverage Mad Dog? It's a drink with a purpose. Purely the end result. Okay? But would you ever judge champagne? Let me move away from that. Would you judge a woman purely by the end result? Because we've grown up with friends like that. I remember vividly being 11 to 12 and part of my 13th year thinking exactly, bruh, I know what chicks are for. Okay, let's call that guy Bob. Let's invent a character. Fucking Bob. Good, because when I get stoned, man, it's so fucking hard to spell. And that kind of humor usually passes as reefer humor. You talking about me? Yes, I am, Bob. And, if I have my nameplate, I can read it both ways. Nice, Bob. Still, reefer humor. Judging purely by how stoned you get. And yeah, the halo varies according to what it is. Because when I walked into a pot shop recently, I cut right to the crash and I'm using poetic vernacular instead of, well, my doctor says, and my third, and so forth. I go in and I go, first 2 episodes of The Godfather. Third is good, but the first 2 are great. Oh, yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're a chemist with an apron and go, absolutely, Mr. Roth, please continue. Or if you're Bob going, fucking A, that third was good. He's not kidding. Okay. And I say, well, I want to sit through the first 2 Godfathers, part 1 and part 2, and I only want to get up once in the middle to pee. Which brand should I use? And they'll guide you to that. Turns out it's Indica. But just remember the story. It's easier. You don't have to remember Latin words, Bob. Good. All right. And then there's the time that I walked into the same pot shop and they asked me, how was the movie? It was spectacular. That's vernacular for sure. I'll be back for that kind again. But this time I have to write Stairway to Heaven Part 2. I Tom's laughing because he's going to have to help me record it. And you know these lofty standards we paint with big easels here. And that's not Godfather pot. That is something called sativa, which still to me sounds like a porn star. Infinitely more attractive because I got shit to done. And if she's waiting for me out in the trailer, time's wasting, Tom. Life is short, smoke them if you got them. I'm throwing in a lot of wit, less than wisdom here. However, judging pot by how stoned you get, you would never do that with a bottle of wine, a glass of superfine Tito's. There's so many different kinds of tequilas out there now. You would never even do that with a hamburger. Yeah, it just makes you feel full. It's the Bob idea. Dude, I'm so fucking full. It is a way of judging. Consequently, it calls or compels into mind the other idea, which is, I can't wait to get back here. Leaves you just a want a little bit more. Cannabis delivers on both ends, routinely. The same as we would judge fine tobaccos, chocolate, ice cream. I'm thinking of comestibles here. The same way you would judge chewing gum. There is artisanal chicken wings there. Mango, chipotle, maple walnut chicken wings that speak Spanish. All right, there's no maple walnuts. Fragrance, aroma, your nose compared to your palate, the way it tastes, that's 4 to 6 flavors. And speaking of flavors, I hear Tom coming in with the munchies. That's pot humor. But you assess cannabis in the exact same way that you would assess anything, whether that's a ham sandwich, artisanal cheese, and ham sandwiches, now that I'm riffing with you, are no longer just ham sandwiches. In fact, cheese is no longer just cheese. Tom, were you raised on grilled cheese sandwiches in the Midwest, yes or no?
Grilled cheese sandwiches with American cheese, which I'm pretty sure is not real cheese.
Exactly. And, toasted Wonder Bread. Okay.
Wonder Bread, exactly, yes.
My body was built 12 ways. You may have noticed. Courtesy of whoever makes Wonder Bread, okay? Procter & Gamble, probably. It's a synthesis. It's not really bread either. Just like most bagels you get aren't really Jewish. It's just regular bread. But I digress. The way you would judge grilled cheese today, and there's a place in South Pasadena that serves brie gruyere. Actually, I think that's the waitress. Really, it's soup. Somebody really dug in and said, no, I can really perfect this and make this spectacular and unique. And just as John Travolta sat there with the $7 milkshake, he was disbelieving. He didn't believe. He was a non-believer, Tom. And even John Travolta, in his comeback role in Pulp Fiction, had to turn to Uma Thurman and admit it in front of how many millions of people, Tom, and turn with a mouthful and go, you have a pretty good milkshake. He had just begun. He hadn't even judged the glass, the service, the lighting, the music, the waitresses, the way they were dressed. Infinitely, this becomes part of the experience. The lighting, Uma Thurman doing the twist. Come on, a glass full of Windex on ice would have tasted good with that in front of you. But I digress. Judging cannabis purely by how stoned it got and whether or not it tasted like blueberry is a Bob move. I'll share this idea with you. Drink deeply of the colorful waters of life, like a Tony Bourdain might share with us. Drink deeply. The Bobs just gargle.
The Roth Report. Food news and cannabis reviews.
Hang on, it's lunchtime, and you're out in the fields, and that's my expertise, okay? For example, I don't know how to either hunt the elk, and I sure don't know how to cook it, but I do know how to field dress it, take it apart, pack it out, okay? I took a course. I took a course in field craft cooking. You gotta go get it, and I'll help you grill it, okay? My expertise is in the logistics. Is that wabi-sabi background noise? That's the ghost of Grandpa here. If you hear birds in the background, they're actual birds. Those weren't piped in. Those aren't samples, okay? We're actually kind of outdoors here. I can look at a crowd of folks and tell you how many pounds of oatmeal you're going to need depending on where you're going and for how long. I can tell you how many gallons of water per person and that sort of a thing. That's logistic cooking, okay? That's a logistic chef. Where does that really come important? 9/11. Suddenly you have 800 men and women, everybody working around the clock. They need 5 to 8 meals a day. Who knows how to cook that? Stop. Who even owns a pot big enough for that much pancake batter? A 5-star chef. And here comes Daniel Blvd and everybody with all of the stars behind their names because they also do catering out in the Hamptons. They set up a bar mitzvah tent and serve them how many hors d'oeuvres for $1,500 without blinking? That's the caravan that got started. True story. A huge caravan of food trucks and catering pots. You've never seen a pot like this unless you watched Elmer Fudd Getting Boiled by the Cannibals. That big. How big is a pot where you make pancake batter for 500 people? And I mean big people, determined people, energy, high carb, high protein, that kind of a thing. So I decided, well, first aid usually winds up next to the kitchen when you go climbing, camping, sailing, cycling, etc. And it kind of fell to me over the years. So that's my entire background. There's no chef school. For a while, I couldn't even spell chef. I cook. And with that in mind, here we go. We're in the fields and we take these tour buses all over the world. You know the song, I've been everywhere, man, that's Johnny Cash. Other people have done it. I've been everywhere. And then he starts naming every city. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Yeah, every single place. Okay. We had a sound man who was blind in the late 70s, between 78 and 79. Terry was legally blind. He really could see, great ears. Spent a lot of time talking with Terry on the tour bus and crew meal and that kind of thing, get to know the way of seeing his way, no pun intended. And one of the things Terry liked to do was when we had road stops, and we always stop at the watermelon stand, we'll stop at the crawfish stand, we're going to get oysters when that's the place, all right? We're going to get a bushel of corn and grill it up. He'd take his shoes off. And he'd go walk. I'd walk with him. I'd take my shoes off. I'm blind, but morally. I do not see because I choose not. And we would walk, and he would feel things on the bottoms of feet. Walking in a Georgia field after the rain in the summer feels very different than the sands in Maui. And the sand in Maui, completely different feel than the beach sand at San Onofre where they're surfing. San Onofre and sunset. And I've taken my shoes off everywhere. It's an odd form of expertise, but I know the Georgia fields. So let's get started. I'm going to teach you how to interact with your outdoors and how to turn a simple sandwich into a moment here. Okay? Anybody can make a sandwich. You know, you put it in a wax paper bag, 3 Oreo cookies and an apple, which you would trade for more cookies, right, Tom? I see the look. Aren't from where you're from. Here we go. First thing you're going to need is a knife. You got to have the right knife. If you're field cooking, if this is field craft, you want as few utensils as possible because you want to carry them in your backpack. And if you have 1 pair of sunglasses, you won't lose them. If you have 3, you lose them all. You know that thing. So Masahiro makes a great knife. You can get 2, 3 different kinds depending on how much actual cooking and carving you're doing. And it's got a real good strength to it because if you sit on it or the guy at Schiphol Airport packs it extra hard into the corner or it'll survive right along with you. And you only got to get it sharpened every now and then. It stays pretty tight for you. If you're on a real good budget, Global. Somebody just showed me some Global knives and stuff. It's wow, really good stuff. And if you're camping, you're outdoors, it does get a little tedious, gets a little boring. I was out on the glacier for almost 6 weeks once. White, boring. Okay? So colorful bandana, you get that zinc that's different colors and make war paint, you know. An unexpected download on the tune, you know, there's very much appreciated. So even though you're making just a sandwich, you want it to be what we in Indiana call pretty. If it don't look pretty, it ain't going to taste pretty, okay? This is Grandma, all right? My grandma was Auntie M. Go look at Auntie M in Wizard of Oz. That's my grandma, except if Auntie M weighed about a third of what she weighed. Grandma was like twisted steel wire. She's like beef jerky. And you're going to need something to drink. I suggest Mickey's Big Mouth. It was my mom who told me that Mickey's Big Mouth was for dunking our pretzels in. And pretzels do better out in the fields after the rain because it's humid, and potato chips get soggy. Pretzels do a lot better, and you can dunk them in your Mickey's Big Mouth. You're going to need a milk pail. Milk pails are big enough to do anything, include washing the youngsters, or your feet, or your hands, and you're going to have to do all if you have a family. If you don't have a family, you don't have to wash youngsters. But you are going to have to wash your feet and your hands. Stick with me. This is a sandwich experience. Anybody can make a sandwich, sit down at the table. We're not sitting down. We're barefoot. Somebody yells, lunchtime. Yes, sir. Okay. And what we're going to do is you're going to take the tomato. You need a little carving board. I recommend that. I've always made the mistake. I'll find something. I got how many stamps? I got almost 50 stamps in my passport. I got 14 broken hearts, 28 sunburns, and I never found anything that was appropriate for cutting a tomato on. If you ruin the tomato, like I did the first 30 times, you either used the wrong knife or the wrong surface to cut it on. And if you splotch it up, yeah, it's still edible. I get it, but you want it to look pretty because we're going to go through a transition where it's not pretty anymore, and you just stick with me. Okay. 1, 2, that's all you do. If you don't know how to handle a big knife, there's plenty of tutorials up on the grid. You can find that. If you're old school and you want to read it out of a book by an old Petromax lantern, the ones that go old school like that, there's a book called Le Technique. Don't try and pronounce it with the French accent. If you're camping, they'll make fun of you. Le Technique. I forget. I'll think of whoever it is later. 1, 2, threw the tomato on the board. It's got to be perfect. Okay? Take that Georgia sweet onion. 1, 2. Remember, you can bite into this. The sulfur content neutralizes the burn. That's what it is. And when you say sulfur, you think of the devil.
Yes, I do. Want to go running?
Later. It's my inner devil. When you bite into that Georgia sweet onion, you don't get the tear in your eye. The sulfur has neutralized that burn, and it's got, I call it a cross between a peach and a Bermuda or something like that, or an onion with an education. An onion that learned 2 other languages. Okay. An onion that went to New York and came back with all kinds of ideas, that kind of a thing. 1, 2, put it on the tomato. You need one of 2 kinds of bread if you're going to be an American. Here we go. You're going to need Wonder Bread, which built my body 12 ways. Tom, you can see that, okay? And you have the knockoff, which is Rainbow, B-O, R-A-I-N-B-O, and you can get it at shops or stores that are like Piggly Wiggly, which is a real name where I come from. That's a real shop, Publix with an X. These kinds of shops or whatever, this is American white bread. This is why we won the war, I hear, from people who were there, the Korean War. I've seen people use double bread. That's okay. Put the tomato with the onion. 1 piece of government cheese, Kraft, yellow, 1 square. Put it on there, okay? Now, here we go. It's exactly perfect. You can put Hellmann's mayonnaise, both sides of the bread, really lay it on, because that's where the taste flavor comes. When you smoke a cigar, all the flavor comes from the wrapper. Same thing. It's the mayonnaise that's really going to set it up for you here, okay? You can put lettuce or not if you want. You put the bread on top, and here's where a sandwich becomes a moment. Are you ready? You're barefoot. You roll your sleeves up. Most likely you're not wearing a shirt at all. You wear a t-shirt. Take the sandwich in both hands. Admire the beauty. It's a thing of art. It's an objet d'art. And in one big, as much as you can get, don't try and be genteel. Here we go. As big a bite as you can, because what you want to happen is as soon as you bite in, the back end is going to explode. and the tomato juice is going to run down your forearms and get all over your bare feet, and you're going to start giggling and laughing and chewing at the same time and trying to contain the sandwich. Next, you're going to try and take one hand off the sandwich, wipe the back of your mouth. As it continues to fall apart, all you'll succeed in doing is smearing tomato and mayonnaise gloriously all over the left side of your face if you're right-handed. Then you will try to cup underneath the sandwich. This is genetically imprinted in some of our cities, okay? You're going to try and cup it underneath. That will fail as well, gloriously. You'll be laughing the whole time. You'll fill your hand with tomato juice. You'll throw it down. It'll get all over your feet. You're going to try and grab it again. You're going to try and finish it again in one bite if you got a hair on your ass, and that's a chef's expression. This is culinary. And you're going to try again, and it's going to explode again because you cut it perfectly. If you didn't cut it perfectly, soaks through the bread and the entire experience, the interactivity of it, this is woke, I can be woke, is lost. Stick with me. You can be thankful for that milk pail because you got to wash your feet first or you're not getting in my truck.
My name's David Lee Roth, and I'm communicating via Skype with, sir, what's your name?
Well, sir, my name is Roscoe Boulevard, sir.
And where are you communicating from, sir?
Well, sir, I'm here in Ocala, Georgia, sir. Yes, sir.
And what is on your mind today?
Well, sir, not so much my mind. You hear what my meaning in a second.
By the way, sir, what is it that you do for a living?
Well, sir, I'm just retired now, but after 40 years as a Navy man, saltwater man, sir. Yes, this man's Navy. And I'm calling you via Skype.
Is it even calling anymore?
I don't not believe so, sir. My granddaughter, she just graduated. We're very proud of her. She told me I should make a connection, make a contact with you. Sir.
Please, go ahead. Roscoe Boulevard, we're speaking to 40 years of this man's Navy.
Yes, sir. I have a legacy to preserve, sir. It's a proud legacy of this man's Navy. Navy power, sir. And here, I'll unzip and show you, sir.
This is Skype.
Yes, sir. And I want to show you, if I did drop my trousers, then you would see on my buttocks, my bottom cheek, that on each cheek is a little red devil with little horns, a little red devil with a midshipman's cap. That's right, Navy man. And in their hands, same shovel wood, like I started with. I was a furnace man down below. Yes, sir, in the furnace room. And then from there, I worked my way up, became a motor man, sir. And there's shoveling coal in my asshole. Please continue, sir. Yes, sir. And it's hot down there. It's humid and hot.
The furnace room, sir.
Yes, sir. And the flame just leap out at you and burn the hair off your head. It's burning hot. I can see the flame coming up out of my backside and reach up to my shoulder blade.
That's got to be the most amazing tattoo I've ever. Well, I haven't seen it, but you explain it quite well.
I could show you right now.
This is Skype, sir.
Yes, sir. Anyway, sir, can you help me preserve my legacy? I'm a Navy man.
I believe I can. We're going to ship you some Ink 50. We're going to send you the spray. We're going to send you all of it. It's going to help you be proud.
Yes, sir. Oh, and right over we had a little fella, Jewish doctor, midshipman on one of my deployments. Yes, sir. He called it my tokus. Yeah, my tokus. Right above the crack of my tokus. It says right there in Latin. It says, Navy power, stand clear. Here, I'll show you. Skype. I think I get your meaning, son. Y'all gonna need a wide angle lens. You wanna get a selfie with my big tokus.
Selfies count. Be prepared. Ink the original. InkTheOriginal.com.
I always hear about how some Girl Scout troop got in trouble because they set up a table of Girl Scout cookies out in front of some sort of medicinal marijuana dispensary. I don't know if it's just California or if it's in Washington State, but it's something I hear happening. I don't see what the problem is with it.
If there's a perceived problem, it's probably coming from a parent who's thinking that you're indoctrinating a kid early to a cannabis state of mind. All right. I don't know. Is the kid suckling on a Ritalin raspberry Kool-Aid pop? I don't know. My parents tried that with me. Think of it that way. There's always some degree of pharmacy or culture or whatever. And it's a culture that's been around for a very, very, very long time. Okay?
like way long time. How you deal with it, same thing about sex education, or is the world flat, or religious indoctrination. It's up to the parents. If I was to stand back and I say the parents are pretty effective at explaining these things to the kids, wow, that's a marketing genius that somebody had. Is it the scoutmaster or did one of the kids? Because that kid's going places. I remember when my dad saw me with a Kool-Aid stand true. And he said, you know what? It says Kool-Aid for 5 cents and you're standing behind it. It was a card table, and my mom had me do the vase with, whatever, and some plastic Dixie cups. Jesus, I'm just remembering this for a while. And this was in Swampscott, Massachusetts. I had to be maybe 7, 9 years old, 9 maybe. And Pop, who had a interesting sense of humor, said, I see you were selling lemonade. He said, you're going to sell it all weekend? Yeah. Well, it says lemonade 5 cents, but you're just wearing a striped T-shirt. You look a little like Dennis the Menace. A lot of kids do that. I said, yeah. He says, you know what marketing is? True story. No. Let me help you. He said, you know what you ought to do? He said, go get a pillowcase. We're going to cut the eyes out of it, okay? And you put it over your head. And we'll get those big rubber gloves out of the basement that Uncle Saul uses when he fixes the plumbing. And they'll go up to your armpits. Okay, like this. And you go out, and I'm going to help you make a sign that says Kool-Aid, untouched by human hands, $4. So in that vein, I do understand that somebody had a marketing genius. And if you can get past the idea that you're out in front of a drugstore, which is exactly what's happening, cannabis shops, stores, studios, what else can we call them, okay? Because they're each a little different. Some are like coffee shops, and some are like fine tobacco stores, all right? Some are like a pastry shop, and some are like a restaurant, and they're going to expand. My only thought about the place, the Green Earth Collective that I visited, was you guys need to put a Krispy Kreme next door. And I can help you with this. Let me count the people. You need a lot of Krispy Kremes. The idea of downtown changes. Sometimes it's uptown. In the 1930s and 1940s, Harlem was the shit. Drop Me Off Uptown. Check out that song. Anita O'Day, Gene Krupa, big band, slam dunk, Drop Me Off Uptown. See, I almost said downtown because today it's Soho a go-go, Ludlow Rivington. I want a cha-cha where Gaga went. I lived right across the street from Pianos. Great bar, great club. They used to sell pianos. And then when they turned it into a club, he said, that's a great title, okay? You got to go downtown to see it. It's great. Gaga sang there. I walked past there. It's a popular place. Uptown is still Harlem and beyond, Spanish Harlem. Se habla español. But here in Los Angeles, we have a lot of little cities. If you broke up Manhattan into 9 places, I can ride my bicycle from one end of Pasadena, east-west, about 40 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. North-south, same thing, 30 minutes. And then there are a million other little cities. Pico Rivera. Come on, you can do this. Pomona, Panorama City, La Cañada, a lot of Spanish names, okay? And then the ones that you know as well, Hollywood, Brentwood, Venice, Redondo Beach, and then all of San Onofre, Sunset, Ventura, and on, okay? And we're joined together by freeway. And we use the freeway with a system that we use exclusively to get our stereos around, and we call it a car. It's the only purpose for a car, unless you're going to go get something to eat. And if you're going to go get something to eat, you're going to go to Highland Park. That's old school. That's the equivalent of downtown now. That's kind of Silver Lake, kind of Hollywood, sort of Soho, sort of an edge of Spanish Harlem, because there's a lot of Hispanic, and it's great. First thing that prospers when there's a lot of peace and love and a little bit of extra cash bouncing around is art galleries, ice cream, pizza. There's people who spend their whole lives figuring out just that crust. There's a crust specialist. Me, I'm crusty. Yo, it has nothing to do with pizza unless you want to go get some after this. And then I would suggest Highland Park. I went there just the other day, okay, made no attempt to hide. Usually I do as a poet, As a professional artiste, I can easily become master of disguise, and I become part of the scenery. You would never know I'm there until I talk, and then people go, oh, that's you. And I think, do I owe this guy money? Because then I tell them I'm Bon Jovi. Which gets me in more trouble because that's Roth humor. It proves I'm me. Okay, no metaphysics till happy hour. And if you want to go to happy hour, same answer, Highland Park. Tom, translate that into Ohio for everybody in a second here, okay? Because there's about 12 blocks, and downtown in Los Angeles means nothing more than 2 stories tall. I've been called the California earthquake, and I'm going to be calling that girl again. But the California earthquake is a very real thing, okay? And old school California never went between 2 stories tall and 2 1/4 because the shit's going to fall over. Up until fairly recently in architectural history, you could only get 2 kinds of material here if you bought a building, stucco and, oh, how you got stucco. Sorry, Groucho. But it's kind of close to the truth. Unsupported brick masonry that doesn't have no spine at all, which sounds like my last agent, who probably lives in a stucco house because I got stucco. All right, I promised. But I've been smoking pot. And if you want to get some great, and I don't mean like it is going to get you the biggest stone, no. Judging a bottle of beer or a bottle of craft beer or a bottle of $500 wine by how loaded it got you is obscene. Of course it gave you a halo. It's expected, like good behavior, no points. But you're going to look at that label, and there are people who spend their entire life learning to do calligraphy. I met some, okay? The kinds of paper that people uses on who made the bottle, where did it come from, and why is somebody named Tito making vodka? Because his is arguably the best. And you get a damn good halo. I'm not saying it's a Spanish-speaking halo, but I do start speaking Spanish when I get one. Orale! And I'm going to give you some measuring because there's a lot of us here who it's unfamiliar with the cannabis world. That's why I'm here. I'm going to translate for you. When somebody says indica, sounds like an exotic dancer. And if she calls, Tom, tell her call back in about an hour. All right? She's going to call. Hope springs eternal here on The Roth Show. And one of the things that helps hope spring eternal, don't look at me that way. There's no double entendre here for you, Tom, but for all of you out there, it is. Indica. How powerful is this? What's it going to do to me? Okay, go to your favorite steakhouse, order a Tito's vodka martini, 2 olives. If you're 180 pounds, feisty, scrappy, and got most of your moves in about 5'10 and a half, if you know anybody like that, Tom?
Oh, yes.
Tom? Who?
Probably you, Dave.
Thanks, Tom. And I'm going to rate it according to this, and you can titrate and accelerate, if you weigh more or whatever. I'm 180, okay? I'm scrappy. I'm feisty. I'm meeting people, and they want to meet me. Even more importantly, I can't disappoint them. I got shit to do. Don't slow me down. Fame, baby. I'm going to live forever. I don't just want you to know the mindset. I don't want to turn into Cheech and Chong. I want to watch Cheech and Chong, but I don't want to be Cheech and Chong, okay? I said, but I'm my big deal, and I'm very specific, okay? One kind of pot does not satisfy every kind of request. I went in with one request to the Green Earth Collective. I said, my biggest issue, and you come to truth. Doctor always says, man, you got to take a day off, or this shoulder will not heal. I'm going from memory, not guessing. That's almost impossible for me. Here, I'm going to put my chest up here. I have a surgically implanted disco beat. You hear that? No, that's not fake. That's real. I was born with that shit. I had the same voice when I was 4. That's right. All the nurses love me. Okay? I walked in and I said, I have trouble settling down. To take a whole day off, like the doctor said, okay, I catch a cold, doc says you got to rest 1 day. All right. Well, I can either sit there and fidget and move around, and the instant it starts to feel a little better, you take 6 Advil and go, wow, it feels better. That must mean we can get on the bike, we can go get a pastrami sandwich, and on the way, we'll stop and talk to Tina. And you know what happens when you talk to Tina. You know what that leads to. Tina's kind of a gateway drug, romantically. And guys, I want to cut to the crash. I'm not going to pretend. Pot is a gateway drug to great donuts. Pot is a gateway drug to great haircuts. Great haircuts are a gateway drug to music, and spirals right out of control. Okay, so I'm going to acknowledge that shit. Full disclosure. Went in, asked the fellow who's running the shop, and the shop is extremely super well run. Because, man, I'm not, part of the neighborhood, but it's skinny, lively, noisy, all kinds of folks. I see a number of moms waiting with strollers out in front, waiting while dad's in line for 10 minutes to go get his $25 worth of whatever. It's the same as stopping at the beer garden. It's the same as stopping and grabbing a 6-pack of whatever, okay? And I don't come from a craft beer kind of background. I do love craft beer. I like the one with the airplane. I like the one with the palm tree, okay? But early on, some of my first musical experiences were, okay, let's learn the Lowenbrow. Tonight, let it be Lowenbrow, okay? And then there's the Miller song, when it's time to relax, one beer stands clear, Miller. You want me to sing this time? Tastes too good to hurry through. So when it's time, and I spent my whole childhood trying to master that. So when it's time to relax, okay? And then there was Ham's beer. I hope this isn't insensitive, but it's an American Indian kind of a... From the land of sky blue waters. Okay. Man, I was 9 years old. That's my first musical experiences, and it sticks with me. Okay, so that's what I grew up with. I don't know who actually won the Korean War or if anybody actually did, but I know that when it was over, our guys had a Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's why I drink Pabst Blue Ribbon. And to be perfectly honest, all humor aside, I'm as serious as a mob hit. Here we go. The original gateway drug is an ice-cold Budweiser on an August evening, a Marlboro cigarette, and a pretty girl. African-American music coming from a shitty Motorola and an old pickup truck on a Georgia field. That's preferential, that's your choice. That's like, mustard ketchup. You choose. But those first 3, baby, you will spend the rest of your time trying to replicate that feeling until the last syllable of time. The Roth Report. The Green Earth Collective, the place looks great. Fellow who's running it came out of IT, internet technology. Nice, sharp corners, straight lines, perfectly well run. It's run like a wine shop or a craft beer place. Again, something like one of the bars that we go to now that, well, at least that I go to, that's a Scotch. There's a tequila I told you about, a place that you can just drink tequila all night and all of the varieties. It's like going to one of the wine shops up on the Upper West Side. But it's a downtown vibe because it reflects that specific neighborhood, and that's part of what you want to go for. I don't care how old you are or aren't. Plenty of security there. It's nothing above 2 stories, so sunlight all over. When you walk in the big cities or amongst the big trees, I've been in jungles that are triple canopy, no sunlight for weeks. Been on camping trips like that, for example, New Guinea. No sunlight for 2 weeks because of all that grows above. When you go to Highland Park, nothing's above 2 stories tall, and you get the wham! Full blast beach experience, Southern California style, and you're not dealing with all the traffic and you're not dealing with all the comings and goings that the beach implies. The beach is a specialized place, a magnet. Highland Park, an undiscovered magnet. A lot of folks walking, talking, everybody put a little effort into the way they look before they go. And it has nothing to do with money. Nothing to do with money, Sonny. It's all great fashion. Starts downtown. Remember the downtown theory. And then it's swiped and gentrified and moves its way up through the media, whatever. And it's all kicking off over in Highland Park. Food news and cannabis reviews, okay? I don't recommend you ever smoke and drive. Get yourself a designated weenie, your cousin that you forced. Okay, I will take you to the prom, but you got to drive me Saturday afternoon to the shop and the donut place and the vegetarian taco place in case I'm still hungry. Ray, listen, Ray. Okay, deal. See you Saturday. Get that going. Because there is a vegetarian taco truck about 6 blocks away. There's a 10-block area there that is every kind of food. There's art gallery. There's bowling, but it's way cool bowling with designer artisanal Gruyere Brie kind of hamburgers, so forth. We'll go there. 3-color cocktails. People with 4-color haircuts serving them. There's tattoos and 5 different languages, okay? The lady who served me the vegetarian taco out of a truck was Asian, and one of the fellas inside, I think, was from Brooklyn and one was Mexican, okay? So when I asked him, I said, is everything in this taco truck, because it was great, it was amazing, it's worth the trip. I said, is everything in here made with soy? And he missed a total Brooklyn opportunity for humor. He could have said, soy of, but he fucked it up. The opposite happened with the food. Amazing. It's worth the trip. And I like the 1-2 follow through. I want the whole experience, baby. And you can get it right there, right around the corner, Spam Tacos. I've reserved it until we get the GoPro going because that defies my imagination, as a lot does. Art gallery was happening. There was in the air, and this is something your nose can tell the difference between 2,600 different fragrances, scents, aromas, etc. Okay? And your mouth just has 4 to 6. What is that? Bitter, sweet, umami, whatever. But your nose, that can go wild. And there is a fragrance that is a mixture for Southern California that's been around for 50 years, right? And it's a combination, because I've asked along the way. It's called Jungle Gardenia. There's a little patchouli. There's a little bit of cigarette smoke. There's a little bit of scotch on the rocks, okay? There's a little bit of pot smoke mixed into it, and then the girls with the hairspray and everything, and that's LA Large. Saturday night, this is.
The Roth Report. Food news and cannabis reviews.